The gift is with us, and so is the challenge. And the challenge is the gift. For we need to be challenged. Or we begin to fall back into a smaller place within ourselves that is restless and unfulfilled. I bring to you then great challenge, but also great confirmation. For we're entering a new world reality, a great threshold for humanity. It is a new world reality that we have never experienced as a whole as the human family. It is a threshold for which we are unprepared and largely unaware. But it is coming. It is coming our way. It is with us now. We've altered the world, and now the world is changing on its own, ways that are very difficult to predict. We have contaminated the soils and the waters in the atmosphere of our world to such an extent that now it is changing in ways that will make it more difficult for humanity to live here, to prosper here, be successful here. This has happened countless times in the universe around us. As growing societies outstrip their world's resources and contaminate their soils, their waters, and their air. To such an extent, they face the great challenge that we are now approaching. I say this to you because this is why you've come. Not you personally, but you at a deeper level. Who you are is connected to you being in the world at this time under these circumstances. It's not they're external to you and you'd rather not be troubled by them. Or perhaps only feel a moment of concern or sadness, regret for the people who are directly involved. This has your name on it. This is about who you are. Great waves of change are coming to the world now that will alter the course and the destiny for all peoples of the world, and most certainly for those yet to come. A world of declining resources and violent weather. A world of political and economic instability. It is not an act of God that this is so, for we have done this to ourselves. But God has sent a new message into the world to alert and to prepare us for these great waves of change and for the new world reality which is approaching us now. We're living in a new time that will require great response from many people. Think not your leaders are going to lead us here and now, for they may be blind as well, seeking only to establish themselves, to satisfy those who support them. This is a calling now to people around the world. And people are being stirred at a deep level. A deep stirring of concern and anxiety. A sense of impending change. A sense that things are not right. A sense that we're heading in a dangerous and destructive direction. In my travels around the world, I've asked many, many people, how do you feel about the future? And the vast majority of them would say something very similar to one another. Very very concerned or not good, scary, fearful, sad. The tenor of people. People are being stirred. This is not every day like every other day we've ever known. This year is not like every year we've ever known. Look to the world and you will see this to be true. Change the climate of the world, which will change the environments of the world, which will change everything built within those environments. Everything that you see, know, and are aware of will be directly impacted by this. And into this growing uncertainty, this growing cloud of concern and confusion, there are forces in the universe around us who are here to take advantage of our divisions, our superstitions, and our ignorance for their own purposes. For we stand at the threshold of a greater community of intelligent life in the universe. And our growing dysfunctionality is a sign to those who watch our world with interest that this is a time to intervene. Many people around the world have seen the evidence of this. Some have been impacted directly. It is part of this new world reality that we are now entering. Facing an increasingly disorderly world, unstable world, facing the presence of those from beyond our world who are operating here in secret, attempting to build an influence and a power here amongst us. This is something our parents never had to deal with, or any generation below or before us, to the extent that we have to deal with this now. And you, at a deeper level, have come into the world to participate at this time under these circumstances. So do not complain endlessly about the state of the world and what governments do and what people do, for this is the world you have come to serve. And your service is your great gift. It's also your great fulfillment. But you cannot call this gift out of yourself. It must be called out of you by greater things, greater forces, greater events, greater challenges, greater dangers, and greater opportunities. I speak of these things, and of course people become frightened and feel overwhelmed if they can look at this seriously. But you must see that this is the great opportunity. For nothing else will unite a divided and fractious humanity. Nothing else can overcome a historic enmity between nations, tribes, groups, and religions, but a greater challenge to the entire human family that will challenge everyone equally. So we have a bigger problem, and it's very big. We're endangered by collapse internally and by intervention from beyond, for they're directly connected to each other. This is an opportunity for those races in the universe who would seek to take advantage of a weak and divided humanity. And we have come into the world at this time. And beyond our own personal lives and personal preoccupations, there is a stirring within us. Many of you, many people around the world, in every nation, culture, and religion, that we stand at the threshold of a great and hazardous change. This has the power to unite a divided humanity. It also has the power to call out of you the greatness that you carry unknowingly within you. A brilliance, a power, a strength that the Creator of all life has given you to bring into the world at this time. And to make the discovery of this possible, the Creator has sent a new message for humanity. To alert and prepare humanity of these two great challenges, from within and from beyond. And to provide the pathway to discover this greater strength and power that we know so little about. For God would not speak to the world again unless there was a great necessity, a great urgency for the human family. God would not speak again unless the great opportunity accompanied that great danger and hazard. An opportunity for all of us together, an opportunity for every one of you. For if you live a little life focused on personal happiness, you will never be satisfied. Your soul will never be satisfied. Your heart will be anxious and restless. You will become jaded and disappointed and tend to blame others for your discouragement and for your unhappiness. Only the Creator knows what will fulfill us and bring us back to who we really are, who we were before we came into the world, and who we will be after we leave this place. Something even few religions in the world can really address clearly, but which is presented very clearly in the new revelation for the world. Our great religions are all gifts of God to an evolving and struggling humanity, but they cannot prepare us for a new world reality. They were never designed to do that. That is not their gift. They represent the building blocks of humanity, and God is their source, everyone. And they have brought us to this great threshold, which is an inevitable place in our evolution and development, for we would eventually emerge into a greater community of life, or face it emerging into our existence here. We would eventually overwhelm the world with our growing population and our unrestrained consumption of its resources, our contamination of its environment, its atmosphere, so forth. The new message tells us this has happened countless times in the universe. And those who seek to gain advantage here from beyond the world know exactly what we're going through and seek a great advantage at this time. This is a time for strength and cooperation, not division. This is a time for forgiveness and recognition that we must join together, person to person, country to country. As a divided set of tribes in this world, we will not survive as a free race in the universe. And the challenge of that freedom is with us already. So you can see the danger and you can also see the opportunity. But what would challenge all of us together is the only thing that could really unite us in a real way, out of necessity. We're never all going to agree on religious principles or economic theories or political philosophy. But as the native peoples of this world now facing intervention, we know what the native peoples of the past had to face facing intervention. Let us then learn from the lessons of life and the lessons of history how we of the native peoples must respond to any intervention into our world, uninvited, functioning without declaring its purpose and its intent. And let us realize that we must protect this planet so that we and our future, our children, those yet to come, will have a place to live, a place more stable and more secure, a place more sustainable than what we are living in the world today. I have been sent into the world to receive this revelation. It is the greatest revelation ever given to this planet. It is unlike anything given before, but it resonates with the truth and the reality and the source of all the previous revelations that have been given here. Make no mistake, this is the revelation from God for our time and the times to come. And yet to know this and to see this, you'd have to become engaged with the revelation, honestly, with an open mind. You cannot stand apart from it and understanding it at all. Just like you cannot stand apart from any of the great traditions and understand them at all. I call you then to come to this revelation. It holds the secret to your life and your fulfillment here in a new world reality. It holds the calling for you that you will not find anywhere else in the world. It holds the preparation for a new world reality and for our engagement with the universe of intelligent life. Things that have never been revealed before. It throws open the doors to life in our local universe, which has never occurred before, so that we may see and understand what we are facing there and what we must do here on earth to prepare. Only a united humanity in the process of rescuing its planet will be able to maintain freedom in this world and be able to build freedom in the universe around us, where freedom is very rare and very precious. Those who discover the new message from God will be the first responders, and their development is very important, for so much that will happen beyond their life and as a consequence of their life will be dependent upon their strength and development and allegiance to this. First purpose of the new message is to bring harmony, balance, and direction to your life. To take you out of a haphazard life with uncertain goals and fruitless pursuits. To engage you at a deeper level, the level of knowledge, what the new message calls knowledge, within you, that knows who you are and why you're here, what you must do, who you must find, and what you're here to give. Things that our intellect can never discern. Despite our hopes and wishes and dreams and fantasies, the real answer within us is something beyond that. And the new message is here to bring that forth from you and to call it forth as I call it forth here today. We stand at the threshold of a new world reality. We're merging into a greater community of intelligent life in the universe. This will seem overwhelming. This will seem incredible. This will seem impossible. But this is why you have come. And if you are to develop a deeper and deeper honesty within yourself about your truest feelings, your deepest sensitivity, facing the unanswered questions of your life, you will begin to come into proximity to that part of you that knows this to be true. It cannot be fully understood. It cannot be fully predicted, what is coming. But it can be felt, it can be known, and it can be responded to. This is the blessing that we have now. This is the blessing of being at a time of revelation in the world. A revelation given now in the face of the gravest needs and the highest imperative. We are blessed to be here, to be a part of that. And the blessing lives within us and will guide us and prepare us as we proceed.